smoked weed after I had it work and go.
Okay, we had some technical difficulties there, so the feed broke up a little bit and we had to reboot. We're talking about CM Punk and Brian mentioning Triple H getting affected by it. I wanted to ask if you had been to any live wrestling events in your life.
Yeah, I went to WrestleMania 29 when they were here in New Jersey.
Wow, how was that?
It was incredible. I wasn't sure what to expect. I'd been to maybe a Raw event before that at Madison Square Garden, but WrestleMania was amazing. Just the energy, all being around so many different types of fans. I just felt validated in a weird way. And I mean, I was in my late 20s at that time, but just felt like a huge part of me was being reborn, like Phoenix style. I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, it was
like valid. What do you mean by validated?
Well, just, I don't know. I don't have a lot of other wrestling fans in my life aside from my husband.
This is like the punishment of all of it. This is the punishment of being a wrestling fan. This is why we brood.
I can't really talk about it to people at work that much. And even now during Mania season, like all of my Twitter followers are like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh no.
And yeah, so
they got you muted during WrestleMania season.
Yeah, exactly. But going there and being around everyone who just loves this thing, around like kids who are young and their parents, it's just like, man, I want to have a kid and bring them here with me. Not really, but you know,
it's fun. That's what got me back into it, because I have a daughter. And I showed her the Undertaker match where he dropped Mick Foley through the top of the
oh yes
cell. Like, I showed her that match. Like, this was my favorite, because that was like an important moment for me. That was like my favorite thing when that happened. Like,
yeah,
I was probably like 16 maybe when it happened, and I was just like, oh man, he might have that really hurt, you know that. And then so I showed her, and she was just like really fascinated with the Undertaker. It was like, just they saw her and my niece saw the Undertaker, and they just couldn't stop talking about him. So we ended up getting like back into it and watching with her when she still believed, because she's 12 now, so she knows that, you know, it's worked, but like she didn't at first. And there's something real cool about like seeing kids believing the story, like it's the truth.
I took my friends, actually Chase, who told me about this show, and my best friend Catherine to Raw about 2 weeks before Mania when they were at Barclays. And I just loved like explaining who everyone was to them, and like explaining like the weird Scooby-Doo crossover stuff. Just like introducing someone to wrestling is so special to me. And I love that I also got to share that with them and also see The Undertaker with them. I'm going to be talking about that for the rest of my life, I think.
Oh, was he? He was in Brooklyn. He came. Did he get speared there?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was incredible because like during a commercial or something, you could kind of see them sneak him under the ring. And my husband just like tapped me on the shoulder and whispered, "Undertaker's under the ring." And I was like, what the fuck? I like went crazy.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing the cha-ching thing over here.
Actually, I took my daughter to Raw, and it was back when Sting was feuding with Triple H.
Oh, nice.
And Triple H is in the middle of the ring talking. The lights go out and they pop back on, and Sting is up in the balcony. Now, it's not the real Sting, because there were like 3 of them. But my daughter was just like, fucking Sting was there. You know what I mean? Like, we were there, and Sting was there. Sting was in all the different places. I can't believe we were there with Sting. And I even told, because her favorite wrestler is Dean Ambrose.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, it was super important for us to see Dean Ambrose. I think he's like the ultimate kids wrestler now, you know?
Why?
Like, mischievous. He's like a bad kid in a way.
He's a Bart Simpson.
yeah. And
he's kind of, you know, he doesn't have the size. He is big, but he doesn't look as action figure-y, I think, in the jeans and the A shirt. It just doesn't match up, you know.
Well, I mean, when I went to Raw, Brooklyn's a different wrestling audience than like we live in Columbus, Ohio, so like there's a lot of just like it's not as hit like the Barclays Center. It's all smart fans. It's all like everybody's just having fun. Like they know what's happening. They engage in it in a different way. And there were a ton of kids at the last Raw I went to, and almost all of them were into Dean Ambrose, except for there was this little girl in front of me, and this is tattooed on my brain now, because she was a fan of Triple H, and I just can't imagine a little girl liking why does she she had a sign for Triple H and was holding it up with like pictures on them and those letters they hang up on the like happy birthday, those letters.
She wants to own the company. That's why.
Yeah, she's into climbing the corporate ladder. It's fine.
Yeah. So do you have an opinion on wrestling audiences? Have you been in some good ones or some bad ones, or how do you feel about them?
I've been in all mostly very positive audiences, and I mean, we also go to a lot of basketball games. We used to go to a lot of like Knicks games, and those were not that positive because the Knicks are always losing. But
it's a different tradition of sports. Yeah,
for me, it's always a very positive experience, and I usually leave really happy and feeling good about life.
How do you feel about the way they're treating Roman, though? The audience treats Roman Reigns. What's your take on that?
I don't think he deserves it. I feel kind of bad for him.
I think here's how I feel. He has to love it. Like, it has to be the best feeling in the whole world. Like that night after WrestleMania, like I could see the joy in his face while those people are yelling. Because who else all he has to do is be in the ring and everybody can scream nonstop for 10 minutes at him because they hate him. Like, that's incredible. Like, I feel sorry for him in that Vince McMahon or the company doesn't seem to want to let him be that person. Like, they want him to be like the top good guy, but it's like, dude, why are you pushing against this? I hate him. Like, when I look at him, I just hate his guts. I don't even know what it is about the guy. I don't like he just, the way he carries himself, the way he looks, and then they position him like he's an underdog all the time. It's like, this poor Roman Reigns. I'm like, man, that dude is a hunk. And
like, he gets all the wins.
He wins everything, and he's good looking, and like they're always like, women and kids like him. I'm like, because he looks like an action figure, and he's a hunk. But like when he gets booed, it's so good. It's so like, it's actually, I think, good for like the company that people feel any sort of emotion when people feel that emotion towards him. I wish they would let him be more mean, let him cheat and shit.
I have to say, I think I do agree. In wrestling, there is levels of energy, and good and bad are kind of not really important. It's really a matter of how much calamity you can cause by being out there, whether you're doing something really virtuous or just being so annoying that people want to just yell at you. They can't help. They're in the same room as you, and they just can't help but focus all of their attention on screaming at you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys like that. Triple H is another guy that's like, who would ever like you? Like
that little girl we talked about one day wants to have a limousine in the BMW 7 Series.
A strong reaction is a good reaction, then. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you love yelling at people too, right? I mean, you like throwing batteries at the heels.
Only ones that have like acid pouring out at the ends. Yeah.
Do you boo a lot when you go to the things? Do you have people that you hate strongly?
I used to not like Charlotte Flair very much. But I think that's just because I really like Sasha Banks a lot. I don't really like Chris Jericho these days. I don't like Kevin Owens either, to be honest. I don't get it.
I think it's interesting that like everybody that I know likes him. Like, you don't, not a lot of people dislike Kevin Owens. I always feel like that's what kind of makes him a bad heel, is like even people who like people don't dislike him. They think he's cool.
But some people aren't into guys that look like they're working out in their garage, and then they went to the wrestling ring.
Well, he doesn't even look like he was working out.
Oh, that's true. Was eating pizzas in his garage.
Yeah, I mean, I wish he would clean up. He does look a little scuzzy, but I think that's why
he looks like a basement dweller. He does look like.
But that's why. Don't you think that's why we like him? Because he's just he's athletic. He does athletic feats.
He's not pretty, but he's the ass kicker, and that is fair. That is another play. That is the other thing that I do enjoy of wrestling, is that there is a place for everybody, even people with like really patchy beards.
Yeah, that's the thing. I could get him. Like, he makes me feel like I still can be a wrestler. I'm 38 years old, but he makes me feel like, man, I'm in as good a shape as him. Yeah. I know I'm not.
I was going to say that. I was going to say he looks like, they picked some guy on the street outside of the event that night and was like, hey, it's your turn to be a star. So I can understand why people find that appealing.
Do you like
who's your fave then right now? Like, who do you go nuts for?
Oh man, this is slightly embarrassing, but I really like Enzo and Big Cass. I love
It's New York. That's the New York thing, right?
I think they're so funny, and I hope they start winning matches soon, please.
The Enzo's ring attire gets better every single time. He has never failed to deliver. Same with the haircuts too. And we got to do that. We saw NXT live in Columbus, the very first NXT live event they did here at the Arnold Classic. And we did the whole thing with them. Like, they came down the ramp and did oh man, it was amazing.
Like the New Age, they remind me of the New Age Outlaws quite a bit. It's just a thing that, like, these two guys can walk out and start talking and everybody knows what they're going to say and gets to do it.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. I mean, it is wild because you are standing next to somebody and performing like performing their whole skit next to them. It's great.
Yeah, Enzo is not the best wrestler though. Hopefully, he learns a thing or two.
No, well, you know what? That's what worries me.
That knockout was funny as hell. But,
oh my god!
But yeah,
I thought he died that night.
I did too. I was like, damn, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, like, those guys, I worry about. Like, I think the first thing I had read as soon as he started was like that Vince McMahon loves Big Cass. You know what I mean? And I think he's gonna separate him at some point, and just.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's probably pretty inevitable that he'll probably because he's like a 7, like, that dude is huge, man, and he doesn't look like there's nobody with his look in wrestling right now. Like, he reminds me of Kevin Nash. That's a guy that reminds me a lot of Diesel. He could do the Diesel gimmick probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and maybe, I mean, the way to do it would be just have Enzo take over managing and messing around in the matches.
Be fun. Yeah. Yeah, because remember, like last year, they had him in a 4-way for #1 contender, and that was like the first time I saw where, like, oh, these guys aren't long for this world. So you don't see a lot of AJ Styles because you don't watch SmackDown? He is my favorite guy.
Really?
Right now. Yeah, he's just so great.
I've gotten into fights with people about this because I also don't like him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's diversity of fans.
That's crazy. I love that man. Like, you know what? I don't wear very many wrestling t-shirts, but one of the ones I wear is his. Like, I love him. He's incredible. He's so good at wrestling.
Yeah, that's what people say to me, that he's an amazing wrestler, but I don't like his look at all.
Yeah, the hair is weird. The soccer mom hair with the beard is like off-putting.
But that's the thing. Every dude that, like, I look at and I'm like, I really like this. Like, Sawyer from Lost is the same thing. His hair.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
I'm a bald guy.
Yes, you're right.
And guys with luscious hair are just like, man.
Yeah, you're bald and can't grow a beard, so I get it now. Now I'm all makes sense.
So I look at AJ and I'm like, I'd have that hair. I don't care how people
press that hair every day. How do you feel about women's wrestling? I guess since you've watched it to what it is now.
Especially because you said one of your favorite times was the Attitude Era. I'm real curious about like what the progression is.
I think I enjoy it a lot more now. I feel like I could aspire to be a women's wrestler, whereas in the Attitude Era, I don't really think I saw myself fitting into that. But like just seeing the multitude of personalities they have, from Bailey, who's just like weird raver chick, like cool, that's fine. And then Sasha, who's got great attitude and seems like a really complex character, and
a hell of a wrestler, best technical wrestler. I mean, in a long time.
The bank statement is one of my favorite moves.
I hate the name, drives me crazy for some reason. I don't know why.
Like in a bad way, it's such a good name. That's great branding.
I like her because I think that she really has the ability to be very mean. On NXT, she had I think it was a match with Bailey, and Bailey had that little girl Izzy that always shows up to all the shows, little 9-year-old girl, and she had Bailey had put the little thing on her head, her what are those things, like a hair tie sort of thing, but not a tie, like a half plastic thing.
Oh, a headband.
Okay, she put a headband in her. She put a headband in her hair, and then Sasha walked up later in the match and took it off and threw it on the ground, and I was like, that's the meanest thing I ever saw anybody do.
Yeah, and you can still see that coming through, and I'm just waiting for her to turn heel again.
I really want to see her and Alexa Bliss go at it, because I think they're both incredibly, they seem so mean to me. Like they seem like, I don't know, they seem like the type, like I just remember there being like these mean girls when I was in high school, like that were just very mean to some people, and that's what they remind me of. They remind me of like just really, they just seem like vicious. So vicious, yeah, mean. I love them. I love
the
them.
meanest shit I ever saw was when Sasha Banks came off of the cage and did that flying like Spider-Man knee thing.
Oh man, yeah.
That was a huge move. For huge moment in wrestling, I think. For what was that, last year that happened?
It was a Hell in a Cell. In November.
Wasn't it? Yeah, okay, yeah. That was fucking dope.
That was an amazing match.
And she had me nervous as hell. I was like, oh no, I think she's really hurt. Like when she was on the stretcher, I was like, oh no, I really think I think she pushed it too far. She just loves wrestling too much.
She's bendy. She's one of the, like, that's the thing I've noticed. Because I mean, guys like Seth Rollins are an exception, or guys like Dolph Ziggler, but in the past, men haven't been as bendy as they are. And like somebody like Bailey does it really well too, where it looks like they're broken in half sometimes. They're so flexible that somebody like Charlotte can throw them down, and it looks like it's killing them every time. There's so many things about women's wrestling. The reason I love it so much now is because it's like on a different, they're doing things that the men don't do, or that the men can't do. And like, they're like executing it at a high level, you know, and it's just something that we've never seen before. That the fact that they never gave women the opportunity to do this is so crazy, because it's so good.
Yeah. And they're doing a women's tournament this summer, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've actually heard some of the women that are in it, and it's because I watch indie stuff as much as I can. Like that's probably why I like Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, because I've been like I watched Kevin Owens for a few years before he came to WWE, and I fell in love with him because they used to let him do like these 15-20 minute matches that like he's just a really great wrestler.
Yeah,
you don't get to see it as much. And
AJ Styles to me is the guy that created the Bullet Club, which is one of the baddest factions since the NWO that's come out. But that happened all in Japan, so that's also another. That's like, you know, it's not on Raw and on the pay-per-view stuff.
And like it's just they don't tell the same. Their stories are told around the matches as much in WWE. Like I think that's why the AJ versus Cena feud was so cool, because like you were getting to see those like matches that tell a really great story and seeing some crazy moves, you know. And Cena lost in the end, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I was gonna say just the thing you said. Seth Rollins is somebody that does it, and I think that that Bailey and Sasha Banks are pushing the envelope on the like not falling flat on your back thing, like falling on your shoulder and falling in these weird ways that does make it look way more dangerous, which is great. I mean, that's the innovation. I mean, the thing about wrestling of old, like I've been watching it since I was a kid too. My dad and mom went and followed like wrestling for their honeymoon over a whole week, and I mean, that wrestling, I mean, that was pretty slow paced back then compared to what they're doing now. Did your dad ever go to wrestling or take you when you were real young? Do you remember at all?
No, it was kind of weird. We actually didn't even watch that much TV. So I also think it's weird that he let us watch wrestling, and he was pretty frugal. So no.
Oh yeah, you should try some like really cheap indie shows. I think you'd love it. Like it's you feel real like the wrestling's kind of crappy,
but you can still, I don't know, it's still being a part of the crowd. I think for me, even the shows that I paid $5 for, $12, the kids are totally into it, and it's just amazing to see how angry they get at like the injustices that are happening. And doesn't matter what I mean, it is nice to have like a gigantic stadium full of people, but like the camaraderie of being there with everybody, and like you said, there's a story, there's a history, there's things that are happening, and if you buy into it all the way, you can have an amazing time out. You're transported to a place that you don't get to do this anywhere else. Like it's uncouth to like to boo at most events,
If you could boo like concerts, that would be
like tennis.
They would no, kick them out of the country club. They'd be pissed.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to not like oh come on, these are all athletes. They're all here for a
fast sport.
No, I like to yell. Yeah, we went to a fundraiser at my old high school and watched an very indie wrestling show, and the wrestling was not good, but it was just one of the most fun times ever. It's like there were these people bring their little kids to the show, and their kids don't know the difference between these guys and WWE. Like they're going and getting these guys' autographs and stuff. And it's just so they take it just as seriously as they do.
Ring of Honor is the same way. I mean, Ring of Honor,
that's good wrestling.
A lot of kids go, and the audience once again is everybody is there. It's I mean, it really is a great community of people that are really just obsessed with having fun, in this very specific way. But, I don't know does the lowbrow aspect of it, does that like affect whether you, like what friends do you tell? Like, do you not try to share with people, or do you let everybody know that you like it, but just keep it to yourself?
Oh no. I mean, it's in my Twitter bio. I think I have like 4 things listed there. Yeah, I'm happy to share it, and I like sharing it with other people. And I mean, it's an art to me. It's like a combination of some things like writing and acting, sometimes singing.
Live, improv,
Yeah. And I love all those things, and most of my friends love most of those things. I just don't think they've ever given it a chance.
I know. That's exactly the issue that we have, is we have these people that buy into like all of these social cues about what makes you smart and upper crust and intelligent. And I begin to tell them the relationship that the crowd has with an audience, and they just think that it's drivel. They think that I just am like, in it because I want to see someone bleed to death, or, because I'm like some sort of cretin,
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people who write, and I write too. And like Brett and I write we write stand-up sets like before we perform. 420 if you want to see us in Columbus, but before we perform, that thing, it's all inspired by wrestling. Like I because there's 2 of us and we do stand up, one of us can be a heel a lot of times, and like I mean, like you can learn a lot by the way that they're able, like if you're a person who's a stage performer in any way, you can learn a lot by how they manipulate the audience and your emotions while you're there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the first thing people ask me when I tell them I'm a fan is it's fake, right? And I'm like, well, what aspect are you talking about? Like, these people are physically fit, these people are actors, these people perform every night. So, I mean, that's all very, very real.
Yeah.
You can't
they bruise, they do break bones. There's impact.
I always ask people to explain how they fake falling off of a ladder. Like when they do ladder, like how do they fake that? How do you think they fake landing on their back after they fall off the top of a big
I'm sure there's like holograms and balloons and like lasers involved.
Yeah, I'm like, what is it that you want it to? Do you want it to, like, when they say it's fake? It's like, do you want it to hurt more? Do you want it to be a lot more dangerous? Do you want it to be more mean-spirited? Is that what you're looking for?
Well, again, I think that like that's just something people have been trained to ask, and like they don't know anything else about it. They don't think about it as like performance art or a sport. So yeah, they just focus on the aspect of it being scripted wrestling.
And I think a part of them also, like, once you bring that up to them, I've seen a lot of people say like, well, yeah, it's like TV, you know, it's like nobody thinks the Game of Thrones guys are really like, there's dragons and stuff like that when the people are watching it. Like, they think the audience isn't in on it.
Right. No, they think we're buying it. No, they literally think that, oh no, his pants accidentally came down. Like, yeah, no, they planned that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those ropes are really bouncy. They just can't stop running while they do it, you know?
Yeah, the Irish whip. Yeah, that is, I have read ancient articles where they were like, they mentioned that the crowd knows what's going on, because the Irish whip is a perfect example of something that you couldn't buy. Like, there's no way that you could say this is a real, you know, unless it was, I guess, you know, agreed upon, maybe a gentleman's handshake, like, should you throw me into the ropes, I will continue to run and give you one volley, then I will rebuke.
It's just the punches too. Somebody posted,
punch someone in the face like 12 times. your hand would be disintegrated.
Somebody posted an old like flurry of punches by a guy, and he punched him and jabbed him in the face like 3 times, and then he wound his arm up like in a circle, like he was gonna pitch a ball, and punched him again, and the dude falls on his back. And they were like, yeah, the audience really thought that was real. Like,
yeah, they're missing. It's just missing. It sucks because they're missing out on like you know, rooting for somebody, picking a fave in the moment, or just, you know, immediately judging a person like, ooh, I don't like the way they walk. I don't like that music. I don't like their hair. Whatever it is, you just pick. I don't like them. I want the other person to beat the shit out of them. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just telling, I think I was just saying this the other day about Japanese wrestling. Is like, I don't speak the language and I watch it, so I don't really know what the feuds are. So I just assume that every feud in Japanese wrestling is that the good guy loves wrestling and the bad guy disrespects wrestling. And that's what all the feuds are about on there. And I think it's roughly close, and it's so good. I get so into it. I don't even need, like, that's the thing WWE does a lot of times. Like, how do you feel? I guess you didn't see it. The Randy Orton, actually you did, on WrestleMania. How'd you feel about that Randy Orton Bray Wyatt match? Like, being a person that is into like the theatricality of it.
I thought it was hilarious. And even like the 3rd or 4th time when the roaches were like appearing, I was just like, does Randy Orton have some fear of bugs that we're not aware of? Like, what's going on? But I don't know. I love that kind of stuff.
I loved it as well. Brian was turned off by it, but I was like, that was cool. That makes sense to me. Like, you're disoriented, right? You just got your bell rung, and then everywhere you look, you just see crawling bugs and shit. It's like, what is going on? You have those moments, you know, where it just slips. You know,
like, who was supposed to be seeing that? That was, I know this sounds like nitpicky or whatever because it's wrestling, but like, he was laying, I guess so.
Imagine being dizzy from a whole bunch of punches and then the ground is moving underneath you, dog.
What I'm asking is, we're to believe that it came out of the mat. You know, it's not a projection,
Right.
The suspension of disbelief means that
Bullshit.
the
That was
mat.
projection.
No, in real life it was, but the way that you're describing it, if it was projection, Randy Orton would be laying on the mat, like he wouldn't be able to see it.
No, he would be blinded up above, and so he would have to turn and look at the mat, and all he would see is crawling bugs.
They
It's
should
like
have thrown some real bugs out too. Just
he
for...
should have brought some real bugs out.
That
He
is,
should be like, I'm gonna put these maggots on you. Like, oh shit, don't touch me.
I mean, I want to clarify. I didn't hate it. I thought it was hilarious. I laughed out loud when
liked
those
it.
maggots showed up on
I
the
assumed
rope.
that Bray Wyatt rigged the projectors. I did not assume that there was real maggots being brought up from the thing.
That's
I
what
just
you were
thought
supposed to believe.
I was
though.
thinking that if I got punched in the face and I looked up and there was a gigantic projector shining in my eyes, and then I had to look at the ground and it was bugs, I would kind of for a second be like, wait, where am I again? Like, where I'd have to collect myself if I saw the ground having mealworms moving around all over it, you know?
And it's an interesting bit of experimentation, I guess. Like, at least they had wrestling's the only place where they would have the guts to try something that stupid.
Well, they're losing. I mean, the Undertaker left, that night, and they need a guy. We have to have somebody that does that for us. We need someone that practices dark arts and shit. That's a big draw for wrestling. There's people that are into that stuff, and that's the first place you can say it's okay. You're just like, oh no, mama, no, I'm not into devil stuff at all. But I just cannot get enough of this Undertaker. He is huge. How did you feel about we mentioned him at the beginning, but he is a huge staple of wrestling. How do you feel about the way that WrestleMania ended?
I mean, I think it was maybe even past time for them to do this, and I'm glad that they kept televising those last few minutes of him just standing in the ring. I mean, it's been great these past 27 years.
Such a long time for a guy to be doing this. And
Yeah.
that's just WWE, right? Like because he started in WCW before he was even the Undertaker. I think he started he wrestled himself in 1994. I just listened to a podcast about that.
Wait, what?
That was in 1994. The $1 Million Man made a fake Undertaker. So the SummerSlam main event was Undertaker versus Undertaker.
I'm gonna watch that after.
That's a good idea. That's a good way to revisit the mystery. Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen is throughout the whole WrestleMania too, looking for the real Undertaker. This is a very good story. I never forgot it. It's kind of like when RoboCop went to WCW. It's just something you never forget. Like they had a match with RoboCop in it.
Wow.
He was standing outside of the ring, or Sting was in a cage while they were beating somebody up that Sting couldn't get to. So RoboCop walked out and he bent the bars of the cage so Sting could get out and beat some people up.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that happened in front of a live audience too.
Yeah.
That is what's so great about it. It's like the people that they give. The people that write this stuff are incredible. That feels like I'd love to meet the people that come up with these things, because I could never think of this stuff, and it's so stupid, and it's in front of they just don't care. It's in front of 7,000 people. They're like, well, are they gonna yell? Okay, I'll take it.
You gotta do it. I mean, the show must go on.
Yeah.
You gotta do something. It has a rich heritage. But so actually my feeling about the Taker thing is it was time. I'm somebody that was just like, I am kind of ageist. I'm going to own up to my shit and say that I don't like when some of the older guys come in and run roughshod on people.
Yeah.
And Undertaker has been looking a little wary in the matches. And
Like Frazier Crane.
yeah,
actually,
the
what he
Frazier
looks
shit
like.
kind of ruined him. That kind of deaded him. That put him under. That put the dead man under, was the Frazier Crane shit. But I actually believe that the fact that he is in this Frazier Crane mode, and Roman Reigns was able to beat him and do it in with that bad of a match, I think it really was great for wrestling history, because it makes Roman once again like this completely hateful person to a certain portion of the audience. You know what I mean? Like he disrespects the shit out of wrestling. This guy's completely disrespectful to wrestling. He's a favorite of the company just because he looks like He should be on the front of a romance novel, and he gets every win. He gets to win all the stuff. You know, we know it's scripted, and this son of a bitch is getting all of the chances, and so it like makes him even more of a thing. I think it elevates. You know, wrestling history a little bit more. You know, with that addition to it.
Yeah,
With
agreed.
his accent.
Lex Luger, people always hated that guy too, and he got everything for like a couple years, and
Right. But then that's the end of the story. That's the legend. Then there's nothing else. Like this is somebody that's continuing on and taking it somewhere else to new heights. Where 10 minutes of audience being irate is something you don't get anywhere else besides pro wrestling.
It's valid.
That's why we love it. That's why it's the one true sport. Were there any hot takes you had before we head out of here, Carol, that you wanted to share about wrestling or spread the word? Maybe convert the unwilling.
I would just tell everyone to give it a chance. Don't knock it till you try it. If you like any type of sport or performance art, then I think you would enjoy wrestling.
And it's a great one to do on your phone. Like it's really easy to watch wrestling out of the corner of your eye if you're going to sit down for Raw. In my opinion.
I want to give Raw my full attention.
Wow. Oh my God. You're a better wrestling fan than mine. You're a better wrestling fan than mine. Yeah.
I mean, I just think like it's like one luxury that I have in life, like being able to sit in front of the TV for 3 hours and just like yell at my husband and on Twitter. Like there's no other time during the week when that's gonna happen.
I'm the same way. That the 3 hours, people complain about it on like a lot of the wrestling podcasts. They'll complain about it being 3 hours, but there's something about it being 3 hours that feels like I'm having a lot of leisure time at one time,
Well, we just got the Sling box thing and we shared the username and password, so we get it live and we get like that stream is perfect. And I've been like saying to my wife like every week, like it's Monday, that means Raw is on. Like you can do craft. You can grab an iPad and watch any show you want on it. You can do anything else, but the TV that is blaring in this household is going to have Raw on it and not fucking My Little Ponies or This Is Us.
And I love that it goes over every time. Like, I don't know what show comes on USA after Raw, but
Grizzly knows best.
Shit. What is it?
Grizzly knows best a lot of times.
Like, I wonder how they feel knowing that, like, they have to start late because Raw goes until, like, 11:17 every Monday night. Like, I love that.
I've heard that's like a scam, too. The reason they do it is because they get the money for the commercials for that full half hour. That's why they always go to the 15 so they can get the money for the extra half hour of money for the commercials. It's wrestling, man. That's the way they do things.
I know. I love that.
Yeah, make money. Okay. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking wrestling with us. This was a lot of fun.
Go to Carol's Twitter.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. But everybody, you seem like a regular person, but everybody else we know is like pimping podcasts and ebooks and things like that. Do you have any like Etsy stores or eBay shops you'd like people to check out?
I honestly really don't. But if people,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, if people want to follow me on Twitter, I tweet a lot about wrestling and community management because that's what I do at Kickstarter. So yeah, follow me if you want.
What's the
address?
Yeah, what's that at?
It's at Car and Ben, CARANNBEN.
Thank you so much for doing this. It was really fun. Nobody ever wants to talk wrestling with us.
But
this was a lot of fun.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it while I do an outro here. But I need a song to close the show out, and I'd like it to be one. You don't have to worry about copyright infringement. Any song you want, that would be your wrestling intro. So think about that for a second. And I want to say thank you again, Carol, for being on the show. For those of you that listen on iTunes, you can also find us on SoundCloud. You can also find us on StreetFightRadio.com. We are available on most of the Android podcasting apps out there if you take a look. And we will be live on 420 in Columbus, Ohio at 877 Chambers Road. We're going to have Matt Chrisman with us doing a drug show starting at 9 p.m., kicking off at 10, and it's going to be lit. So please be there. We are expecting full-blown calamity and committing felonies before and after the show. So, you know, get ready. StreetFightRadio.com, store.StreetFightRadio.com for tickets. And Carol, do you have a song for us to close the show?
Yes. It's Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins.
That's
Oh,
sweet.
yeah, dude, my first CD I ever got.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm stopping recording.
All right, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks.